Hello and welcome to the IBF Education Podcast. Well, I'll be talking to non-native English language learners about their experience learning English and about why they chose to learn the English language in the first place. Today, I'm speaking with Solange. Solange, how are you doing? Are you okay?
I'm okay, thank you. Are you and you are how are you?
Good. Yeah, I'm doing very well myself, thank you. Thanks for asking. So, Solange, where are you from? Where do you live?
I live in La Matanza, in Buenos Aires. I always live here. Well, it's near Buenos Aires, capital city, um, almost 15 blocks away. But I live here in La Matanza, Villa Serena.
Perfect. And for those who don't know much about La Matanza and about Buenos Aires as well in general, in terms of the city
Yes.
and the province, what can you tell them about it?
Well, the province is called Buenos Aires, and the capital city of Argentina is called also Buenos Aires. I live in the province, and the capital of Buenos Aires province is La Plata. It's two different. And well, I live near the capital city that is like another province.
Yeah, it's very, very strange actually that for me, knowing that like
Yes.
the autonomous city of Buenos Aires is the capital of the country, but you also have capitals, it seems, in each province as well.
Yes. That is true, and with its own constitution and all the stuff that rules the province itself.
Yeah, very complicated stuff. When you have individual politics in different provinces, it's crazy.
Yes, yes.
Brilliant. And what do you like about Buenos Aires?
The capital of the province.
The
Sorry.
capital. Let's separate it. How about the capital first,
Uh,
and then the province?
the capital has a lot of facilities and shows and museums or all theaters and cinemas that you can go. It's all in a small piece of landing, and you can have more. You are you have more approach to study things and go to universities and all that stuff. But in province, when you go out from capital city, Buenos Aires, you have less than that. You have to travel a lot to find a university. Maybe the buses don't go to the neighborhood often, and you have to wait hours. And you have all a little more away from your house. Doesn't happen to me because I live 15 blocks away from the capital city. But when you get into more deep into Buenos Aires province, you have a lot of countryside and a lot of landscape on all the stuff, and it's more difficult to find a bus or maybe a good hospital or something like that.
Wow.
But
Okay.
it's nice because you have more free air, and you can breathe better.
That's true. The air pollution in Buenos Aires isn't very good for your body, that's
Yes,
for
that's
sure.
right. Yes.
Yeah, something I noticed. I went to, where did I go last year? I think it was called 20 de Junio. It's like outside
Yes.
Moreno, is it? I think. And
I
I
don't know
couldn't,
where is it,
yeah,
but
I
it's
think,
in Buenos Aires.
yeah, it's like in the west. It's like an hour and a half away from
Hmm.
Capital. And what I couldn't believe is how fresh the air was there. Like I'd forgotten how
Yes.
fresh air can be because I've just
Yeah,
been in
that's
Buenos Aires for 4 years continuously.
yes. In Buenos Aires, you have a lot of cars. One side by the other, one car. And in the province, you don't have that. You can see the main street from a city, maybe with a few cars, not like in
Not a
Buenos
big
Aires
traffic
city.
jam of
Yes,
3,000
that's
cars,
right.
yeah.
Yes, and you can get into your office, going to the office or to a place more faster than in Capital, uh, because when you have that the bus or a car, the road are empty and you can go faster.
Okay, so it's a true suburb then, the province. Like, really, is so
Yes.
much space to move around and all those things.
Once one a coworker when I from a company that I used to work said he is from Chaco. Chaco is a province in Argentina from the north, and he said that they was in the capital city of Chaco, but they had to travel 5 minutes to her home to the company. 5 minutes just in bus, 5 minutes. And when she came to Buenos Aires city, the capital, and the travel the time that he traveled was 2 hours or 1.5, and he said, well, I now I understand why all the people who live in the capital are so annoying, or maybe
They're so
something
annoyed
like
because
that.
they waste 4 hours of their day traveling, for sure.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, that's a crazy difference. It must be a really small city, Chaco, then.
Yes, yes, yes. It's small, but in capital and the first we call it the first cordon. I don't know how to say it in English. There are three uh, uh, cordones from outside the capital, and the all that places in one have the, I think that the half of the population of Argentina, and all the rest are spread all over Argentina, and we don't have all the population well spread in our territory. All are in the same place together.
It's so, so true. I looked at the data on this actually. I think it's like there's 18 million people living between the autonomous city of Buenos Aires and La Provincia de Buenos Aires. 8 million in the city and the rest in the province. And from a total population of about 40 million. So almost half
Yes,
your population is either in or around Buenos
the
Aires, which
capital.
is crazy. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. That is a bad thing because there are a lot of good places, nice places in Argentina with a lot of design, a lot of things that we can explode, um, but they are not with the population that they need to be a great city or a large city. They have a few persons live in one city, and they cannot go or look for to grow.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a big, big problem. It's a big, big problem,
Yes,
especially in the country the size of Argentina. It's so
yes,
big that, and you've got so much space that's just nothingness, just beautiful nature. Or in the case of the South, the tundra is literally nothing for miles and miles and miles.
yes, that's right. That's true.
Very interesting. So, what's your job, Solange? What do you do for a living?
I work in a company, an email marketing company named MailUp. Sorry, I have to say it. And I work as a technical supporter, but I have a lot of things to do them there because we have a lot of applications, and this company works for another companies because they sell the sending of the emails and SMS through
Mhm.
this platform. We have to, in my sector, we have to attend to to the clients with the questions, if the platform gets have a bug or something like that, that it could happen in every platform, or a question about how to do something or some commercial strategy through this platform, to send emails, how to use the features of this platform. Well, we also have another platform like a service platforms, CDP platforms, on all that stuff. So I talk a lot with other countries, LATAM countries, Brazil. Some of them are in USA. With my partners, my coworkers in Holland and Italy. I also talk with them from France, perhaps.
Okay, multinational then. That's awesome.
Yes, I love it. I love it because I love to see other cultures, another way to live. That I think that opens your mind. In my way to see it, perhaps it's not for everyone, but it gives you the vision on other persons on how to live their life, how to different are the human race, and that is funny for me and interest.
Definitely, it gives you a great sense of diversity and like being able to
Yes,
communicate with so many people from so many different continents and countries. I mean, it's just a great thing to do.
yes, and you can perceive from the other, per example, from the Holland people, the Dutch. They just work.
Netherlands, they
And
do, yeah.
yes, but in Latin America, we work also, uh, but we find just 5 minutes to chat about the weather, the life, or what did you eat, or how was your day, and then start to work, because it's like I don't know how to say, but it's relax us to maintain that human contact with other people in that way, because oh the Duchess, it's okay,
Yeah,
are human always.
yeah, the Dutch.
But the Dutch, but the way that they hang with themselves is very different to us, and it's interesting to know that maybe the Italians are like just like ours. They chat and they talk about their life. They share a lot, and it's like we do in the shop every day.
It's so funny the cultural differences in that for me. I remember when I first came here to Argentina. I think this is when I first started teaching, when I first set up the company. I had some messages from some other teachers who wanted to work with me and do something with me, and every single one of them was like, "Let's meet up and talk. Let's go and have mate." And I was thinking, what
Yes,
one? I barely understood the culture at this point and the significance of say mate, and every single
yes,
message was the same. I'm thinking, but this is a business meeting, so so that should be
yes,
very formal, or there's other protocols in place for other countries, not to sit around and drink mate and those kind of things.
yes. It's like a protocolar things that we do in every part. I think that in Latin America, but in USA, don't do that the same that
No.
we do. They are more strict with that. And yes, it's nice to see all that different type of thinking around the world. And also, when referring to my position, you can analyze all the different cultures and all the type of selling diversity that all the company has, because it's not the same sales for a Colombian person to an Argentinian person, or a Brazilian or in every part in the world, because they are different type of culture thinking. That is, it's something that for me is interesting, because you have to know and study the way that they see the life, how they
Yeah.
behave in from all the different situations, and that
Yeah.
is interesting.
Oh, it's so interesting, especially in work situations. Like things that
Hmm.
I would consider informal are naturally occurring in, say, the Argentine work culture. Or like,
Yes.
I don't think I ever in England stopped to have a conversation about life when I was at work. Maybe after work if we went to the pub or something, but even that is not as common as maybe it is here in Argentina, where you have like after office parties and all those kind of things on a weekly basis.
Yes, yes, it's a little more relaxing, but it's also give us a chance to read out all the stress of the day, because
Mhm.
we, or unless I don't I can't work or concentrate myself all the day long, as like 9 hours of seeing
Yeah.
the screen, and is work. I have to uh, have a release to my brain and think of another thing, because if I don't do that, I can't work properly. It's a different way to see it, but it's more benefit. It's a benefit for us, because in terms of productivity, we from other the Latin team from the European team have less persons in the staff, and
Yeah.
we work at the same level. So the productivity is the same
That's
for us.
interesting. That's really so okay. So
Yes,
you have less people working in Latin America, but your productivity is the same of that in Europe.
yes, because we released in the past year a new product, an application, and the Europeans was like awesome, like surprised
Hmm.
uh, that we work with such a few people, and they require a lot amount of people to do the same thing. And it's what is happened. We keep working a lot. Maybe we could pass more than 9 hours working, but we need that human touch
It's
and know each
interesting
other.
that.
Yes,
That's very interesting statistics. What I would like to know is the quality of the workers in both countries, because it seems to me that the majority education is very, very valuable here, especially in Argentina. And it seems to
yes,
me that people really, the ma the majority of people really try to educate themselves, so they're naturally quite qualified for jobs. Um,
hmm,
I'm not sure about America though, because there's so many jobs that maybe we would consider you don't need a huge amount of education to do. Education has less priority. Maybe for like to be a lawyer or a doctor, that's more important in that sense. So it'd be interesting to see
yes,
what level of quality of worker are coming into those companies. Maybe that's
yes.
influencing
It
the
is.
efficiency as well.
I think that in my case, I am the type of worker that I keep improving my knowledge.
Yeah,
My position requires that I have to find out the better things to do, know new stuff, search about new things. I don't know everything, but I research in the web. I am looking for new things to improve the area that I am working for.
yeah,
So is I think that in my industry, in the industry that I work, we don't need to know everything, but we need to know how to search the answers.
Yeah.
That's, I think that it's the new way to work, at least in this area. I don't know in others, but I think that it's a new way. I have a nephew, sorry, a niece, and I encourage her to know how to search things, because the new kids know much more better than I do to search
Mhm.
things in the internet. If you thought about it, you have all the knowledge in the internet if you know where to find, because some places there are uh, something that are wrong.
Yeah.
But if you know how to think, you can learn everything, at least the basis. I don't know to perfect yourself, but at least the basis of the thing, how to use Windows and the Excel and all that stuff. You can search it without any course, but you have to have the a constance to an interest to keep um, learning. But if you don't have
100%.
that, you are just going to read the first page and then you drop out all the in all of the learning.
Completely agree with you, Solange. Research skills are super important these days for everything, even within language. It's really, really
Mhm.
important. So,
Yes.
how often are you speaking in English in your job?
I don't speak that much in English myself. I just read tickets and all that stuff and emails that
Mhm.
the all the clients or my coworkers send me, because uh, it's a universal language now. And when you don't know Italian or other or Portuguese, you have to communicate it in one language at least, and that in this case is English.
Mm.
So we can answer in that in English. So I have to read a lot of English, or even the documentation. You In my case, I have to read a lot of documentation in English, and maybe translate to my language for myself or for my coworkers, or my coworkers do the same for me, and all that stuff.
Fair play. That's awesome. I'm glad you're reading all day in English. That's amazing.
Yes, but I don't know what to say, if I can say that, but when I read the last time, the last book that you sent to us to read, I started to read out loud. To I don't know if I pronounce the word correctly, but it was a very good practice to read out loud and to get confidence of myself in the moment that I talk with somebody. I
For sure.
don't understand every word, like you always say that is true. I don't understand every word, but I understand the context of the book, of what the author wants to say, and with that, it's all fine for me to understand at least the thing that they want to transmit to me or the lecture.
Definitely. Like it's maybe when you're starting out as a true beginner, like never looked at a language ever before in your life. Maybe it helps to understand individual words then to some degree. I'm still not convinced, and the literature doesn't, but I imagine basics like understanding hello, goodbye, individual words that
Yeah.
are just going to get you quite far is probably useful. But when as soon as you hit, especially up to the B1 level, can't do that anymore. Individual words have absolutely no meaning from that point onwards. It should be entirely contextual. And like you said, you're not going to understand every word, and nobody understands every word they read, no matter if it's in their first language, second language, 10th language in the
Yes,
extreme cases. You just get the context, as you said.
that is true, because all the language are alive. that
Yeah.
like all the, because we use it, we are alive, we use a form to communicate each other, so the language is alive. It is going to grow with our culture. It's going to add some words to change or forgot some others. So when I, for example, when I talk with my niece, she used some words that I don't understand, and I am
Mhm.
talking in my own languages. So I have to say, but what it means that you said recently, and she explained me that it means this thing, and I said that's
Even
a dumb thing to say, but it's the way that it is.
even things that are like not slangs or colloquializations, even just standard words that are common throughout languages.
Yes,
Or I shouldn't say common words that you'll probably come across. Is probably more accurate. But like think about this. So the average uneducated person in the English language knows somewhere between 25 and 30,000 words by the age of 21, roughly speaking. If they're university level educated, probably somewhere between 35,000 and 38,000, depending on their speciality and the degree they studied. And then if you're a teacher like myself, maybe that can go as high as up to 60,000 words because you're constantly exposed to all kinds of vocabulary, right? But how
yes,
much of that can you actually recall and use when
yes,
necessary?
yes,
Probably on a regular basis, 10 to 15,000 words. So even if you recognize a word, it doesn't mean that you can use it. Recognizing is part of the stages of being able to use vocabulary, but one of the things that a lot of people don't invest enough time into is listening. People really underestimate the listening skill. Like if you think about it from a child's perspective, which is no different to how adults learn, children spend the first 3 or 4 years of their life doing nothing but listening and reacting to
yes, that's
things.
right.
And through those thousands of hours of listening, they're able to start using language. And maybe some of it's copied as well. There's definitely an element of copying, but I think the copying is more the attitude they take when things are expressed under certain contexts. Um, Maybe slightly about the accent to some degree, but who knows? There's not much research into that at the moment. But definitely, listening is the most important skill that I can think of at the moment, that people are neglecting. Obviously,
Yes,
reading is important to learn the grammar of a language. You can learn the natural grammar of a language by reading very easily. But if you really want to have great communication skills and be able to pull specific vocabulary out when you need it, that's all down to your listening. You can't. People think about languages too logically a lot of the time, right? They think, okay, I'm going to use this phrasal verb in this sentence when this context arise. It's like, yeah, you probably won't.
yes, because you are going to forget that in the time that you are talking.
Yeah,
But
for sure. It's just not, it's not normal. But if you've listened to the same context 8 or 9 times previously, you're probably going to feel encouraged to use that and feel confident that this is the right context for it, just naturally. It's a very natural process, learning language. It always makes me laugh when people say, I want to learn English, but in 2 months. And it's
that
like,
is impossible. Yes, that's right. In every language, because I am studying right now Italian and Portuguese. Um, I know I listen to them. It's similar to Spanish, obviously, but I can know or familiarize with the structure of the language easily, more easily than English. But I'm not going to be able to talk in 3 months with an Italian, or even understanding him or her fully, perhaps a few words. But if I don't listen, I use a lot of Netflix and look for series and films, and I hear them in the original language, and then I put down subtitles. And it's that is helped me a lot to understand and familiarize my ear to the language. And that is important to hear always, or the most part of time that you can have the other language, because if you don't listen, you don't going to understand nothing about.
It's true.
Just the grammar that doesn't work just for itself.
Grammar doesn't work at all, actually. Do you know, there's a really interesting study that was done. It was about 10 years ago now, I think. And there was earlier a rendition of this study as well that came out in the 90s. But the up-to-date one that came out about 10, 15 years ago had a very large amount of people participating in this study. And what they wanted to see is they had two different groups, one of which that only learnt English through grammar and grammar books the traditional way, and the other which had no grammar taught to them whatsoever, and they only learnt through speaking. And what they found is that on a grammar test, they both got exactly the same mark, but one group could speak and the other couldn't. The group
Yes,
that just
yes,
focused on speaking, what was the one that got the higher that could speak and achieve the grammar results. Because grammar you learn naturally. There's points in grammar which I feel you have to learn because they're a bit more technical. For example, I know in our classes we talked about literary techniques and persuasive techniques, maybe structure and formatting of sentences and types of writing. Those things you've got to learn because those are logical processes. But to actually read and write, you're just copying in most essences. The more you read, the more you're going to copy from things that you like. So you can do that process quite naturally. But speaking's a really interesting skill. People try to force speaking though, and they miss the listening part. And I think it's something that comes up quite a lot in the conversation classes that I run. Is that people some people try to say so much without saying anything. They'll use
yes,
100 words to say something that could have been summarized in a sentence. It's not about the amount you speak. It's not about the amount of words or the complexity of the words. It's were you understood and was it enjoyable for people to listen to? And did you understand what other people were saying at the same time about their experiences? It's a very communal process learning a language. It's very communal. If you want to
yes,
learn it
yes. That
effectively, you've got to listen and then actively participate in the conversation.
it's like the example that you gave before with our native language. A kid doesn't learn to first to write and then to study the grammar and then to speak. First, he listens and then he speak or she speak, and then use the grammar because they have the teacher that uh, they give this material to them to know how to write and all the stuff that is about the language that they are in the native uh, country.
Mhm.
So it's the same.
Oh yeah. It's very much the same. Let me going back to the 2 months to learn a language point. I tell you what is realistic. This is very, very much realistic. If you focused your language on one particular topic that you really, really love to speak about in your first language and only focus on that for 2 months, just that one topic, you can become fluent in that, in speaking and writing, in general communications. But that's how specific it needs to be. And generally, I think that's a better approach to people learning languages, actually, because see, there's general things that you always need to know, how to pay for something, how to ask for something, how to say hello, how to say goodbye. I mean, those are just basic standards of any language, right? But
Yes.
you're not going to talk about everything you talk about in your first language in your second language. For example, I'll give a really good example here. Okay, I'm in Spanish, I'm terrible at talking about, say, sports, but in England, I can speak In English, I can speak all the time about sports, about any sport with very sophisticated vocabulary. But the
Yes,
conversation is very rarely in sports when I speak Spanish. Mainly, it's about inflation, corruption, or food. Okay, so
yes,
even if I practice to talk about sports, I don't. It doesn't actually have any relevance because it's very rarely talked about in my social circle here. So it's
yes,
more relevant for me, and I've learned how to speak about what would be normally very complex topics in any language in Spanish, and I struggle with the simpler ones. So
you have to
it's got to be relevant.
found a, yes, you have to find a journalist or a sport teacher who knows talking English up to speak in Spanish and talk about sport and all that stuff.
100%. You've got to find people around you in a community level that have the same interests with you. Or,
Yes.
well, you don't even necessarily have to have the same interests. It helps to have the same interests, but you've got to have a group of people that are around you who are interested what you have to say. Like
Mhm.
people are
Yeah.
very, very, very interesting if you listen to them, but most people don't listen. They assume and then they just say something. People don't really listen to what people say, and on a psychological note, that's really, really important. You get to tell many
Yes.
things about people the more you listen to them.
Yes. And also, what I discover in myself that sometimes people doesn't know in their own language how to express their self.
Yeah.
I read some emails sometimes that I said, well, you are speaking in Spanish here because they try to report me a question or something that is going on with the platform, and I have to figure it out what they try to say to me. So if this happens in my language, my native language, when I try to understand in other language, it's more difficult.
For
So
sure. It's a
yes,
real skill to learn to simplify things, for sure.
yes. It's difficult because I used always, perhaps I have one word to say something in English, but how, because I don't know that word, I have to explain that word. That's why sometimes we took a lot of time to express ourselves. That
That's
it's
perfectly
what
fine,
I
though.
do.
I tell you why that's perfectly fine is because maybe it's a word that you only need for that particular moment, and maybe you don't need it again for another year. You're not
Hmm.
going to remember that vocabulary ever. It's better to
Yes,
always go around the idea. It's the most secure skill that you can learn in language. If you can learn to go around missing vocabulary that you don't have, it's more valuable to have that skill than having all the vocabulary of a language. If you
yes,
can explain around ideas, you will never suffer, never ever suffer. And also it enhances your language in the end, because maybe if you're speaking to, say, me as a native, maybe I used a bit of vocabulary within the same conversation that you didn't know, just because you've explained it. And if that conversation repeats itself little by little, you will naturally acquire it, but only if it has relevance. If it has zero relevance, you're not going to learn it. It's not going to be acquired in any sense. It's people put too much focus on finding the right word. You can focus on finding the right words when you're writing.
yes.
Writing is a logical process. So
Hmm.
you're going to make sure that you edit and reread and change things all the time. That's the time to do that. And that's where you'll probably acquire a lot of vocabularies in the process of writing something. But in terms of speaking, it's much more efficient to go around the idea than thinking, oh, how do I say this? And not be able to find the word. No, that's too much energy. Just go around the
Yes,
idea. It's
that's
more efficient and it's better. And you'll be understood, which is the most important thing. It's not about people are not going to judge you on the vocabulary that you're using. They're going to judge you on whether they understand you or not.
okay.
So much more important. So, just to end, Solange, what are your goals at the moment with English? What are you trying to improve on?
I want to have the opportunity to talk like we are doing right now with other person from um, England or other parts that they are native, and I can share thoughts with them, but not in a writing way or something like that, just
Yeah.
talking. But I want the opportunity in my job, the things that I do to work, to use it in my job, basically.
Hmm.
And I want that, but I don't have the opportunity now in this case, because I don't have the opportunity to talk with clients directly in a call. But had I have do it this in the writing part of the language. So I want that opportunity to increase and know more about this language, because I like the English, but I know that I need it a lot for work.
Yeah.
It's a lot of the importance of the know this language for us, like a Latin American people. It's opens a lot of doors for shop, better shop, well paid
Yeah.
shops, and that it's important, because in some companies maybe you don't know how to don't you don't know how don't know the way to use the computer or some programs, but you're going to learn it when you get in the company. They
Hmm.
look for a person who knows how to talk the language, because they have clients abroad, to in Europe or America or something sectors like that, or places, and they want people who knows how to talk.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
then all the skills are going to be able to learn in the time that you are working there. But mostly in Argentina, in big companies, is this the skill that you need in English is a high, um,
Yeah. And
and then you can learn all other stuff in this case. But in the case of a doctor or a programmer, it's not the same, because you have to know, but it is a plus to know English in that case.
yeah, I think it's becoming more and more important for programmers to learn English actually now,
Yeah.
because more companies, especially technology companies, they're wanting direct communication with engineers and their clients to explain, especially things like APIs and webhooks and how to build apps within applications, all those kind of things.
Yes,
So it's
yes.
becoming increasingly more common.
It's it depends of the company, because there are some that they search for an English programmer who
Hmm.
knows English, but it depends of the knowledge of that programmers have the job or not.
Yeah,
Because if you are a good programmer, they said, well,
he's a good
maybe
programmer.
he can learn English
Yeah,
uh,
for sure.
after the job. But if the level of the programmation is low, maybe the level of English have to be the best.
Completely
It
agree with you.
depends.
Yeah, it is a balance. It is a perfect balance, but it is one of the most, not just English, but languages in general is definitely it's the most valuable
Hmm.
things that you can ever learn for the reasons you've just said.
Yes.
Well, Solange, you're already on your way to achieving your goal, so that's great. Now we're just going to get you into more conversations with other natives, preferably in the work situation for you, and also outside of work as well. It'd be good just for your confidence.
Yes. I'm going to look for an app to chat to chat with another native English
For sure.
speaker. Maybe, I don't know if I have the time.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be with just another native speaker as well. You can learn just as much from other people in other countries who speak English. Even if it was in
Mhm.
Argentina, like I have some students who have incredible English abilities, really incredible English abilities. And so don't just think it needs to be natives all the time. Natives are
Yeah.
great for certain things. Okay, but it's not the complete answer. You can do things with people from your own country also. So
I'm going to search for them.
for sure. Well, Solange, thank you very much for having this conversation with me today. I thoroughly enjoyed sharing this podcast with you.
Well, thank you. Bye.
Thank you. To everybody watching, thank you for tuning in today, and we'll see you again next Friday. Goodbye for now.